What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. I'm Love Coach Scott Thomas, and it's Saturday night. And for over 6 years now, on Saturday nights and also on Wednesdays now, we bring you shows that inspire, inform, and provide just an opportunity for us to remember the goodness of life and the goodness of all of us. And tonight's show, we've got some of my absolute favorite people with us. Our beloved friend Patrick McCullum is with us, back from another trip down to the Kogi people. We're going to learn all about what they have to say, and there's going to be a lot of really important things that Patrick has to share. And for music, we have our beloved Cornflowers with us, and we've got something special that we're going to play with Cornflower. And speaking of music, I just got to put the spotlight on for Scotty Satori for a moment, because it's just always so good to see you, Scotty. We love you so much.
Oh, I just love you all. This is just great.
You've been moving and grooving to Cornflower music all the way back to the very, very beginning.
Oh, my brother. I love you. Yeah, we all have. And Eleanor Joy, there she is right there.
There she is. I'll bring her up. All right.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the family, you know, it really is family. So it's wonderful. We also are going to hear from Elizabeth April. It's a pre-recorded video, but Elizabeth is going to, she's got something really important to share with our audience. And we're also going to see Celine DaCosta, who is our author that we didn't get to on Wednesday night during our Authors That We Love show. DR is with us to lead our prayer time and to get the show rocking and rolling as only he can. Our beloved house musical artist, Omashar.
Greetings and welcome everybody. Namaste, and thank you Facebook and YouTube and our streaming partners who are watching. And freedom comes with letting go. Yes, it does. Surrender. The open roads of this brand new start, the peace that flows through this loving heart, 'cause freedom comes with letting go. Relax yourself, your furrowed brow. The past has gone, so say hello. No looking back, onward we go. This is the life awaiting us, with family supporting us. The sword of truth has cleared the way for us to rise a brand new day. New mountain peaks for us to climb, new roads to walk, no reason why. It's time to know that we are one, with all of life, the central sun. And this is the life awaiting us, with family supporting us. The sword of truth has cleared the way for us to rise a brand new day. Cause freedom comes with letting go. There's life renewed, new seeds to sow.
Oh, beautiful. Gonna go to gallery view for a moment. Send twinkles and love and appreciation to our beloved Omar Shah. And thank you to the Global Priesthood Dance Team. Sylvia, it's great to see you moving and moving your hand and dancing with us. And Lynn, you have been quite the cheerleader recently dancing, so I appreciated that. Of course, always Eleanor Joy and Dia and everybody who is moving and grooving and dancing, Scotty, all of our friends. So thank you so much. And beloved Omar Shah, thank you for your incredible faithfulness and all the beauty you bring into our world. Thank you. Well, you are looking at the man who saves the world. Kind of, maybe, we think, we hope. Certainly an extraordinary enough man that they made an entire movie about him. And I know that many of you are probably familiar with it. But for those who may not have known, they did make this beautiful movie. I went to see it in San Rafael with Eden and Katrina and many of our friends. And it's beautiful. It's a full feature film about Patrick McCullum and the incredible work that he's done in the world. I mean, we're going to be learning a lot more about it tonight, a lot more about his life. And where does the idea that he's the man who saves the world? Well, there were a number of indigenous people that when they saw Patrick, they realized, oh my God, that's who's been coming to us in our vision. And he, along with our beloved brother, Chief Phil Lane, who of course has been on the show many times, they actually created this extraordinary gathering of indigenous elders from the north and from the south. You could say from the land of the eagle and the land of the condor. And as it was prophesied, brought these indigenous elders together in an incredible event. And that was part of the film that was made about Patrick and his life. And we're going to learn all about how to watch the film. We can all rent it now. It's available for rent. And so it's always a pleasure to have you with us, Patrick. I'm grateful to call you my friend, as well as a colleague and someone who's been on the show before. But for anyone who doesn't know the full story, can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you, just being in your world, a normal guy, very dedicated to world peace. You've always lived your life in, humble service to humanity, but to have indigenous tribes believing that you're the one to save the world and then having a movie made about you. What's that like? How are you doing with all of that?
Well, it's weird. I mean, who expects anything like that to happen? In my life, I never thought they would be making a movie. And by the way, which I'll share more, there's now a second documentary that's just been being filmed about me, and it's in the works to come out
Wow.
soon. But I'll stick with the one that we're talking about now. You know, I was doing work in India, which I've done a lot of work there, and I was at an event with 100 million people present, and indigenous elders who had seen me through plant medicines and speaking with spirit and stuff like that from the Amazon region, and the Kogi people, who were one of the most remote tribes of people on the earth, all saw me like in a vision. And so they sent a delegation to India to look for me. And in the middle of 100 million people, they said, you're it. You're the guy who's in our prophecy. You need to come to the Amazon, and you're going to unite the Kogi people with the other three pueblos, which the conquistadors split up their whole civilization. They told me I would reunite the Tairona civilization, and then I would go on to unite indigenous peoples across the Amazon, and then bring them together to unite with the people from what they call Turtle Island, North America, and then indigenous peoples across the entire world. And so, I told them they were crazy. I mean, who could do all that? But after them pursuing me and bugging me and me turning them down over and over again, I eventually agreed to go to South America, and I went to go meet with the Kogi people, and everything that the prophecy said would happen happened. I helped reunite their civilization, and then they agreed to help lead my going into the Amazon region and bringing together all the different tribes there. And that all came together and happened in a really good way. And then I brought elders from the Amazon together with my brother, Chief Phil Lane. We met in between. We met in Mexico, between United States and Canada, and between South America. And we met there at some ancient pyramids, which it said, by the way, in a different prophecy, that on a spring equinox in that year, this was 2 years ago, that indigenous peoples would come together and we would unite, and it would be the spark that would ignite and save the planet. And this was written thousands of years ago. And we ended up being at these ancient pyramids in Mexico on the date when it was supposed to all happen, and everybody came. So the prophecy did unfold and is, in fact, coming true as we speak. So, but for
Wow.
me, it's just, I mean, it's so funny. Each of us, when we look at others, like I look at you, Scott, and all the things you've done, or the other people who are on here and all the things that they've done, I'm, admired and blown away by the things that you accomplished. So I think what happens is each of us have something different to, offer to the world. And my particular gift happens to be this. So, and this is my 56th year working on peace projects. I mean, I've done, as you'll see in the movie, if people watch it, I worked in the prison system for 20 something years, changed the whole system for the whole United States. I fought for women's rights, went to Martin Luther King when I was like 12 years old and got involved in that, and traveled to Africa, traveled all over the world, climbed the Himalayas, you know. So I've had a good life and I've done a lot of interesting things.
I know you've done a lot of good, and it hasn't always been easy. You've had, what is it, seven, eight surgeries on your knee now?
Yeah, I have had 8 full knee replacement surgeries on my right knee. Basically, I, was climbing the Himalayas and walking all around the world, and I wore my natural knee out, and I went in to get a knee surgery, which many people have had, and I got a MRSA infection in my knee in the operating room, and they have since had to put in a knee, take out a knee, put in a knee, take out a knee. So it's been a little over 3 years of really difficult times, and I'm still fighting that infection. And, only a couple of percent of the people who get it survive past the first year. And I obviously am still here. So I think I'm going to make it. And so in spite of that, like when I went to the Amazon for part of the journey, I went in a wheelchair, with a machete. I mean,
But but you also have had to still do a fair amount of climbing and hiking. It's not exactly like those roads right up to where you were going.
oh yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about this last journey if you'd like to hear.
Yes.
Um, so so what happened is that I was helping with the State of the World Forum last year with my partners, Jim Garrison and Tom Eddington, and they were trying to decide what we wanted to do this year for the State of the World Forum. We're supposed to do it for 6 years in a row. And they had seen my movie and were very impressed by the idea of there being prophecy carriers from the indigenous tribes and nations. We all hear about the Abrahamic prophecies, and, constantly we're being told what's going to happen and things from that perspective. But people in the world really haven't heard the indigenous prophecies. So they were saying that they thought it would be great if we could try to get indigenous prophecy carriers from around the world to come together in a gathering. And originally we were going to try to do it in Iceland. But as it turned out, we ended up organizing to go to Bhutan, to the country of Bhutan. And we met with the king and also the religious leaders of Bhutan, and they're totally behind the idea. And so my responsibility now is to bring 70 or, to 80 indigenous prophecy carriers from all across the world. So I don't just mean from the United States and Canada and Mexico and South America. I've been reaching out to Australia, to Nepal, to, Siberia, to the South Pacific, all across the world. I'll be bringing elders, and we're going to fly them to Bhutan in the 27th of November until the 5th of December. Will be the guests of the king of Bhutan, and they will share their messages about the prophecies and what they say, and then they will jointly share a statement about what it is that we all need to do from their perspective to change the world and get it back on track again. So Tom and Jim and I were strategizing about how that would best unfold. And they got the idea, not me, they got the idea that it would be amazing if we could get the Kogi to lead that coming together, because they have been one of the only tribes in the whole world that was never colonized, was never modernized. They're really the original people for, they say, 9,000 years. They've been in the same place there. And they also say they came from the stars. So I have a special relationship with the Kogi and have had for some time. And then I helped reunite their people. So they really appreciated that about me. So Tom and Jim, and then Sally Rainey, who's a close friend, who I'd also worked with on some other projects, wanted to go also and meet with the Kogi and see whether or not they would be willing to lead a world event. And they normally don't come down from the mountains at all. And in the Kogi traditions, they have spiritual elders who are called mamos. And then the female spiritual elders are called sagas. And each of the mamos, to be a mamo, have to go from 12 to 18 years from the day they're born living inside of a cave and never seeing the outside world. So they spend their first 12 years in the darkness of a cave, never seeing the world that any of us see, so that their spiritual capabilities will develop, and then they come into the world. But with those mamos, there are different levels of them. So there are, more junior kind of mamos, and then there are more senior mamos. And the more senior mamos live higher up in the mountains in Colombia, and they never interact with the outside world. But on this journey that we made, they agreed that they will come down and that they will lead the senior most mamos. And so Tom and Jim and I and Sally, we all took off, went to Bogota, Colombia, caught a plane there from different places around, the world at that time. We were all in different places. And we flew there. Then we caught a second smaller kind of puddle jumper flight to the nearest city that we could get to where we were going. And then we got in a car and started traveling in a four-wheel drive like Toyota, for what was supposed to be an 8-hour journey to the beginning of the road/trail that we started into the mountains, into the jungles. Well, we started out on that journey, and there's a lot of chaos going on in Colombia right now. They're having elections, and they have guerrillas, and then they have the drug lords, and then they have the government troops, then they have the people, and they're all kind of intimidating and fighting against each other as we're going. So on the way, before we get to the Kogi, we get in a giant protest. And they've lit the road on fire, and they got machetes, and they're in the middle of the road. And we have to meet with the Kogi, who are expecting us and who are going to be walking for 15 to 20 hours down the mountain to meet us, but have no way to communicate with us. So they don't know we won't get there. So we get stopped by the protests. So I get out of the car and meet with the protesters and tell them, you got everybody stopped, but we're trying to save the planet. And, you guys want to have a better world, you got to let us through. Well, the long story short is they got a guy who got in the car with us and drove us through back, like across farmlands and, fields and through creeks and all kinds of stuff, a back way all around to get past the protest, and we were able to go on. But now our 8-hour trip was more like 14 hours by the time we got to the bottom of the mountain, and it was turning dark. So now we had what was supposed to be a 4-hour four-wheel drive journey up what they call a road. We wouldn't even call it a trail. It had rocks in the road every few feet that sometimes stuck up as high as like 3 feet high. It was like a stream bed with big boulders and stuff sticking up, and places where it dropped off cliffs and all kinds of things. So we started up in the dark up that trail, and we got to a certain place where the car couldn't go anymore. So then they said, okay, we all got to get out and walk, but we have to be extra careful with our backpacks and everything we're carrying because this is a hunting area for jaguars. And we're in the night with little headlamps and all looking to see, if there's jaguars that are following us while we're going through the darkness of the jungle for a number of hours. And I had to do this all with my leg and a walking stick and just, basically taking one step at a time for hours going up the mountain. And then all of a sudden we went around a bend and the Kogi came and they had a donkey. And so they met us and greeted us and we all hugged and such and such. And then they took our backpacks and things and put them on the back of the donkey. And then we all walked together the rest of the way to a very sacred site that they all go to that has a temple. And it also has an area for sleeping for the mamos when they walk across the mountains back and forth. So there was a couple of buildings where there were actually beds. I mean, they're more like cot kind of beds, but there were actual beds in there. And so that's where we ended up living for a week with the Kogi up on the top of the mountains. And that was the journey getting there. So now we're there. And then we met with the Kogi and we explained to them what it was that we wanted them to do. And they shared that in order to answer, they had to do divination work. So they brought us all out and we created a big circle with all the mamos and such. And they got a bowl of water from a special place and put it in a sacred bowl. And then they have a special sacred stone and they drop it in the bowl. And they have a particular mamo that reads the water waves from the bowl. And the Mamo basically says, yes, this is a project we're going to do. Now you have to meet with the entire people, not only from the Kogi, but from all the Tairona people, which are the Kogi people, the Wiwa people, the Kankwamo people, and the Arwako people. And all of them have mamos. So they sent all their mamos, and they also sent their sagas, their sacred women. And we went inside a kind of mud and stick built temple with a fire in the middle, and we made a circle, maybe about 50 of us, and all the sagas had their little children with them. So all the little kids were there too. And we just started talking about the world, what's wrong with the world, what needs to happen, and all these things. And Tom and Jim and Sally and I experienced the most amazing conversations from the mamos. They begin by sharing that when they came from this particular solar system in outer space, that they had a particular mission. And the mission was to help guide how this planet and humanity would unfold. And they actually have stones, like flat stones that are thousands of years old with carvings and things on them that have maps of the solar systems with stars in them that we only just discovered. And they're thousands of years old. So there's some kind of real connection there between them being star people and, here on the planet. So anyway, they said that they have a message that they want to share with the world. And so they'd love to do the thing going to Bhutan so they could share their message. But they also shared with us that there were these very special sacred stones that their ancestors used to activate the planet Earth. And that they'd identified several hundred spaces across the planet where they needed to travel and do ceremony with these sacred stones, where they put the stone on the ground and they bring this energy from outer space to send it into the planet, and then it spreads out through all nature and humanity. And they were trying to figure out, number one, how they were going to get some of these sacred stones. They had one, but the only sacred stones that are available were in graves planted with Kogi mamos thousands of years ago. So the Kogi people, in order to get the stones, have to deal with grave robbers who discovered ancient Kogi graves and dug them up and then got these stones and then sell them to collectors for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And they're like a black crystal, maybe about 6 or 8 inches long and maybe about 1.5 inches in diameter. And they look like a quartz crystal, but they're pure black. And they are no identifiable substance that we can identify. We had a geologist with us, and she said they're nothing that we've seen on this planet. So they were trying to decide how they were going to do that. They agreed to go with us to Bhutan, but they asked if we could help them with that thing of activating the planet and getting these stones. So we all met, Tom and Jim and Sally and myself, and we talked and we decided that we would take on doing that for them, getting that together. And we raised some money, enough money to send about 5 mamos to 5 countries so far with the stone, one stone that they did have so far. And they traveled first to Finland, and they are currently in the Arctic. And it's the most interesting thing to think about this. These are people who wear the same outfit every day, and that outfit is what they wear down on the equator, where it's, 105 degrees in the daytime with high humidity. And they are wearing the same outfit barefoot to the Arctic. And yet they do it, and they're successfully doing these ceremonies, and they still have, I think, 3 more countries to travel to right now. They're in the process, and we're getting pretty much regular reports from them about that. We also are in the process of raising funds to try to buy some of those stones off of grave robbers. And this is a long, difficult process because, one thing, it's illegal to do this, not for us to buy them, but for grave robbers to have them. And Colombia is a country with a lot of corruption right now. So, you have drug cartels, and you have militias going around, and you have people shaking you down when you drive down the highway, and, all kinds of crazy stuff. So we were able to reach out, or at least help the Kogi to reach out to some of the grave robbers, and they're currently identifying some of these sacred stones, and we're going to try to buy them back. One last thing I want to share with you before maybe we have some more conversation here is that we were there for the sacred time of the solstice, and I don't mean the solstice, I mean the, yeah. So we decided to, for the spring equinox. So they have a sacred site that's 5,000 years old. It's a stone in the jungles that has carvings of the different equinoxes and solstices on it for thousands of years, and it's had the energy of mamos for thousands of years doing ceremony. So they wanted us to go there and see that stone and do ceremony on the stone. So that one was tough for me because I had to hike down extremely steep trails through the jungles, and I could hardly walk on one leg, and it was like an hour-long walk through tough jungles down. I'm talking some places it was so steep that it was like 50 or 60 degrees kind of steep, sometimes actually almost straight down. But we made it to the special stone, and we all did ceremony there, and we did our own ceremonies, and then the Kogi did a healing ceremony on me there. And while we were there, they shared that the land right next to that had another sacred stone on it, but that it no longer belonged to them. That when the white people came and started taking everything over, and the Spanish, they took over that land, and then they ended up selling that land to somebody, and now a person owns this piece of land that has the Kogi sacred stone and things on it, and the Kogi would like to try to get it back. So Tom and Jim and myself and Sally all spoke and decided we would also create a project to buy that piece of land back for them. And so we're in the process of doing some fundraising about that also. So that's kind of I want to also tell you that while we were there inside this temple for several days, we did ceremonies straight through in this temple. Um, they shared with us that they have an interesting process amongst their people. Jim Garrison was very much wanting to understand how they function as a society and what's different about them than us. So the first question he asked them was, what do you do about crime? And they said, well, we don't allow it. They don't allow crime. So they have about 20,000 people in their 4 pueblos, and they don't allow crime. So it's just every little child when they grow up learns that, so they don't have any. And they said that, but it wasn't true absolutely that a number of years ago, there actually was a crime. And the crime was that each of the villages has a storehouse where they collect grains and foods and things they need to get their whole community through for the year. And it's a communal society, so everybody contributes. So they put all their food and all of their things, and then the women weave bags, these beautiful bags you can carry things in, and they send them down the mountain and sell them to people, and they get little bits of money to purchase different things with from the bags. So this storehouse has all those things in it, and it's locked. Well, some mamo climbed in the middle of the night up on top of the storehouse, pulled the sticks and stones and all stuff away, dropped down inside and stole a bunch of stuff out of this storehouse. But somebody saw him. So they reported that he stole it. So the community hadn't really ever had something like this happen before in their memory. But they decided what they needed to do was to bring all of the Kogi and other Tairona people together in a giant communal circle and bring this guy and put him in the middle and say, why did you do this? You have everything. We all share with each other. And he said, well, my wife, she just wanted to have some extra things like they have in the town, and they don't use money. So we don't have money to buy those things. And so, I just felt that I wanted to get those things so I could sell them, so I could get some money so she could get these things from town. So the members of the Kogi tribes all got together and the other Tairona peoples, and they had a big powwow, and they came back and they said, here's the solution to the crime. We're going to make you the protector of this storage place, and we're going to give you the key. And anytime you need to steal something, you can just open the door and go get what you want instead of violating our sacred space in our community. And you also have your status raised up because you're now the guy who's in charge of the very thing you were stealing from. And that guy took that position on and never stole anything else. And that's kind of the last crime that they've had there. We asked about domestic violence. And they said, well, we don't allow domestic violence, that when couples come together and get married, if they start to have problems, they come to a mamo and tell the mamo, and the mamo brings the entire community. I'm talking, a few thousand people together, and they all help work out the couple's problems. And if the community can't work out the couple's problems, they give them permission to separate. They don't have to go through a divorce and all this stuff. The community, facilitates everything about it so that it all comes out. So that's a couple of the extra things that happened while we were up there. And Jim decided that we need to get people here to learn how to do some of that way of living, both communally and to not allow crime, and teach our kids from the beginning, that they need to have a different world. And I'll stop there.
Well, fantastic stories. Absolutely fantastic. And it's just very inspiring, Patrick. Of course, a couple of years ago, there was that famous video that came out that was the Kogi prophecy. And clearly, we have not gotten it together. The video kind of implied there was a period of time that humanity had to come together and stop the impact that we're making on the planet. We haven't done that. Our leaders haven't come together. And so the idea that, according to that video, was that then Mother would need to repair herself, and that would include a significant loss of population. Is there an addendum to that vision?
Yes. So one of the things, so the video you're talking about is called Aluna. And it was actually filmed by Jane Goodall, as many people know, was one of my closest friends. And it was one of her very close friends who actually went up there and discovered the Kogi people and made that video, Aluna. And part of it that's not in the original video is they say that these things will happen where the earth will start having like tidal waves and, hurricanes, and it'll rain where it's not supposed to, and it won't rain where it's supposed to, and all these different things like that. But the Kogi also said at that time, and it's not in the movie, that the thing that could change it is if the Mamos were able to deliver their message to the entire world. And of course, that video went around and, a few people saw it, maybe even a number of thousands of people saw it, but there's 8 billion people on the planet, and surely not, a billion or more people saw it. So the greatest thing that the Kogi been waiting to do for, probably at least 550 years, because that's when the Spanish conquistadors came, but they've been waiting more like 1,000 years to share their message with the world, and they've never had a way to do it, nor any opportunity to do it. And so I told them I would take on the responsibility of making it so they could share their message with the entire world. And that's part of what's happening in Bhutan. Their message will be shared all across the entire planet for the very first time. And this will help change the outcome, they say, of what's possible. But it will require people listening to the message and starting to make change. They believe that we need to follow what are called the original instructions. And many of the Native Americans and other indigenous people use that term also. And basically, original instructions just says, first, to honor our planet and everything on it, that everything is sacred, and that we must all treat all the sacred things as sacred. And if we treat one another as sacred and our planet is sacred, everything will be okay. And so they're going to be sharing that as part of their message when they go to Bhutan. And I would also share with you, because of the work I did with them, and there's a lot more to this story for those of you who haven't seen the movie. In 1965, I was in a fatal motorcycle accident. A drunk lady hit me going 60-something miles an hour, and I was pronounced dead, and I was dead for 7.5 minutes. And I went to a tunnel of light, and I saw, quote, God. But God was a woman. This was in 1965. And of course, nobody really talked or thought of God as being a woman, or could be. And my belief is God could be anything it wants. And, it could definitely be a woman or a man or something we don't understand. But I went through this process where I died and came back. And the way I came back was I promised the divine that I would dedicate my work, my life, to helping to save the world and work toward peace and protecting our planet. And that was the reason that I was allowed to come back. Now, fast forward 50 years later, when I meet with the Kogi, they sit me down and tell me in 1965, they all went up on top of the mountain and did a ceremony to make the man who would eventually come die so that he would restart his life and get the skills and do the things necessary to come and help them. And then they said that was me. So there's just all these weird, twists and turns, and you couldn't make this stuff up, but it's all real, you know.
Fantastic. It's so amazing. And that's why they made a movie about you, my friend. Um, Now I know you're friends with Coyote Ma. She's been on the show before. And is she part of what you're doing now, or what's the relationship there?
No, I mean, so where we are is in the beginning stages of putting this larger event, the Bhutan event. The uniting of indigenous peoples. Basically, I've put an invitation out to anyone who can help bring together indigenous people to either do it on their own or to connect with me and let me help do that. And so what's happening is we are continuously getting different groups of indigenous people who hear that we now have a number of millions of indigenous people who've agreed to come together since I started this trip up to the Kogi and stuff, and was told that I was going to help unite them all. So I met with my brother Phil Lane, as you know, and he has brought many, many, many hundreds of thousands of people together, and we've now joined as forces. And so we're working together to bring people together from both of our connections and other connections around the world. I just came back from Sedona, where I have two other dear friends and partners, where a number of years ago, we all sat down and decided that we are going to create a Indigenous Confederation of the Americas, where we create a constitution and make it its own nation, kind of like the Sami people did, where they don't live in a particular country, they live in multiple countries, but they're still like a unified nation. And that particular thing is definitely coming together and unfolding. And there are several partners I'm working with creating that unification. So we actually had a meeting in Sedona of about 100 to 110 leaders from indigenous nations, not just around the United States, but from Africa, Siberia, all kinds of other places. And we met for a week, and we all created an agreement together to unify as the Indigenous Confederation of the Americas, which would then also include people from outside of the Americas. And instead of filling out the document that we spent 4 or 5 years creating what all the rules were and everything like that, they decided we need to do it in the indigenous way. And so we got a skin and a blanket that had been woven by a tribe, and each of the elders, including myself, came up and shared our commitment to join with all the others to unify, to save the planet together, and to protect each other and all the sacred lands. And then we took one of our most sacred items that we have, and we put it into the bundle. And then there are 10 people's, precious items in the bundle, and it's rolled up and it's a bundle, which is what the indigenous people carry, like the white buffalo bundle and things like this. So that bundle now has become a famous and fundamental part of all the indigenous nations of the Americas. And so that's another thing that came out of me going, to South America and going up into the mountains with the Kogi and all the rest of that stuff. And that is still unfolding also as part of the Eagle Condor prophecy.
Wow. People are, of course, just so loving what you're sharing. And some of the people who live with chronic pain and fatigue and just are feeling exhausted, they want to know, where do you get your source of energy, and how do you manage, what do you do for pain management?
So that's something I really want to share. I thought was important. The movie about me, the thing that's the most important about the movie about me, from my perspective, is that it shows I'm an ordinary guy. I'm not Superman or, Batman or something like that. You know, People that know me really well do think I'm actually the real Indiana Jones, and I am kind of that kind of a guy, but I'm no superhero or anything like that. I'm an ordinary guy. And then I've had hugely debilitating things happen to me. I mean, these 8 knee replacement surgeries, I literally am walking around with an IV for a year in one side in a wheelchair, and then trying to go and meet with people in jungles and things like that, which other people would think was impossible. And the way that I do it is 2 things. One, I believe that we are only limited by the limitations we put on ourselves. So I believe, if you have a terrible disease and you're like wasting away and everything like that, what a lot of people do, and even our society teaches us to do, is to give up. You basically just go, okay, my life's over, I'm done, I'm not doing anything. What I say is push through that pain, push through that depression, push through whatever it is, and go for it and do what you can. And you'll find out that as a human being, we have far more capability than we believe we have for ourselves. The other thing that supports me, of course, is my connection with spirit. I mean, I do truly believe that if we pray and we ask for support from the divine as we make our journey, and that if our journey is based on a meaningful thing that really contributes to the greater whole, that we will be able to move forward and do the things that are necessary. And I'm proof. I'm 76 years old and I'm still going in the jungles and dealing with, drug cartels and jaguars and bandits with machetes and, all that kind of stuff like that. And I'm walking hundreds of miles on a walking stick to get to the places I need to go, and I have no intention of quitting.
God bless you, Patrick. Of course, before you leave, we're going to, check in with how we can best support you. But are you optimistic about how things are going to turn out for our planet? I know that obviously there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical or even fearful. How do you honestly feel about the future?
Well, I have 2 things that give me kind of an advantage over most people, but if I share them with you, you'll understand why I have this perspective.
Okay.
I'm very hopeful for the future. My dear friend Jane Goodall and I, we talk every week about what the most important thing to have, all of us, to be able to bring about the future that we want. And we both agreed that it's hope, that hope is the hope for the future. And so if you have hope, then you kind of lay out in a spiritual way a pathway to open up to something else. And so as long as you have hope and you're connected with the divine, there is always that possibility of good. But let's look at it from my perspective. I was dead and came back to life. So I know there's stuff out there that we all talk about and aren't sure if it's true or not, but it's definitely true for me. And the other one is, I'm going along just kind of ordinary guy doing my work for peace to the planet. And I end up with indigenous elders coming, and I'm in the middle of 100 million people, literally 100 million people standing around me. And they somehow find me in the middle of that and go, "You're the guy." And I turn out to be the right guy, and I didn't feel special or anything. And I even argued with them that they got the wrong guy. You know, I argued for a number of years and refused to actually go, and said, "You guys are crazy. I'm not the guy. Clearly can't be the guy. I'm an old guy. I got all these surgeries. I got all this stuff. How could I be the guy?" But then it turned out to all actually happen as the prophecy said. And the prophecies, all the major indigenous prophecies say the same thing. They say that we'll come to a place where humanity will be destroying the very planet that we live on, and that we will be destroying one another, and we will have forgot the sacredness of our connection with our brothers and sisters. And that when that time comes, we will have two choices. There'll be two roads we can walk. We can continue walking the road that we are walking, and it will ultimately lead to that thing, Scott, that you shared, that the planet itself will rebel and spirit will rebel, and a large majority of humanity will just be destroyed by, you know, earthquakes and no more water to drink and famine and all kinds of things like that. Or we can choose to walk the road that all these indigenous elders are saying and start today recognizing that every step we take is a step on a sacred path, and that everything in front of us in the entire world is deeply sacred. It was created as part of creation. And that when we start to acknowledge that walking forward, things will not go bad, that they will come together and be what's necessary to save us all. And so I am hopeful. I am optimistic, because so far everything has unfolded for me exactly as it was supposed to unfold.
Wow. That's very inspiring and very, very hopeful. Do you believe that there's going to be like a bifurcation where there's a splitting off of worlds, a splitting off of Earths, which is a very popular notion that the people such as us, Global Peace Tribers, that are no longer really wanting to do right, wrong, good, bad, people that live in peace, we're going to experience a heaven on earth type of an earth. And the people that still want to do war or, you know, kind of be survivalists, they get to have that experience, but it's in a different reality. What do the Kogi or your visions address that?
So they do, in the sense that Kogi say that there's these two paths. And if you walk one path and you go one way, you end up with this really, horrible end, and everything, people killing each other and gradually diminishing whoever's on that path. And the other people leading to really sort of a beautiful, connected, loving future. And so in that way, I believe it. It's challenging for me because I'm at the apex. I'm at the center of multiple different things that are all happening at the same time. So, for example, I have my ranch in New Mexico, which is where I want to live in the end. I've had it for about 50 years now, very remote area. The first aliens in the Roswell incident crashed on my driveway, or right by my driveway. And the guy who took the one living alien out that the government later came and captured and started Area 51 with was a neighbor. And on my driveway, there's also the mine where they discovered the uranium that they made the Manhattan Project from. And there's all these like things just in my own journey, my own life, my own space, that are unfolding in ways that we can't understand. And so because of the crack, they built the first SETI site near the bottom of my driveway, the very first one in the world to speak to intelligence in outer space. So I now am in the middle of a place where I'm connected to people who, believe that there are extraterrestrials and they're among us and things like that. And I'm in those conversations and I participate in that kind of thing. I'm in groups where there are groups splitting off, believing they're going to be a whole different society when the chaos is over and they're going to have this world like you spoke about. So, I hang out with those people and I believe that we will have that world. I just don't see the world as bifurcating into that. But I'm open to that. In other words, I don't disbelieve in it or contradict it. I just have too many things on my plate, you know, to do it. So I'm sort of choosing the ones that I'm best at addressing. Um, I also will tell you that, you know, my work in India and in the Himalayas, I met with people who could do things that can't be done, like levitate something. Or there were these monks high in the Himalayas who stopped their breathing and make themselves dead for about 6 months. And a friend of mine went up and did a whole documentary about them. He got permission from the Dalai Lama, and they take these people and they put them out in the ice at 40 or 50 below zero with no clothes on, and they don't freeze or anything. They just stay there in a hibernation state, and then 6 months later, they come out of their trance and they are ordinary people again. So I believe that the possibilities in front of us are far beyond anything we can imagine. We think AI is really something amazing, but just human consciousness and where we as humans on our own can go is far beyond anything that we could even imagine yet. And I want to say one last thing. I have a particular belief in the world that's really important. I believe that creation, meaning everything we see, outer space, earth, everything, is whole and complete, and there is nothing outside of it. And if that is true, it means every challenge or problem in the world has a solution in the same world. So, you know, if you're an herbalist, you can learn that by you go out and you get poison oak and, you know, it itches all over you. You think, oh my God, this is the most horrible thing. And right next to poison oak grows jewelweed that if you rub it on it, neutralizes poison oak. Every
Right.
every single thing, every disease that we have that we've overcome, we didn't invent something new. We simply found something that's been here since the beginning of creation. Even going into outer space, you know, the rockets, the fuel, the gravity, everything was all here in the beginning. And so all that has led me to believe this one sentence that I use to guide my life. If you can imagine it, it has to be possible because my imagination is a part of creation, and creation never has something that doesn't have the answer to it. And so I just believe that, you know, if we imagine this better future, we will have it.
Beautiful. I've put the links into the chat box, but I want to acknowledge that most people watching the show are watching on our broadcast partners. By the way, Patrick, I had a lovely text exchange with Summer Joy Raymer today, and she was so excited you were going to be on the show. So she said, we're going to do an extra large sine wave. There's a lot of people watching on Facebook and YouTube. So I wanted to show a couple of websites. For his movie, go to themanwhosavestheworld.com. Themanwhosavestheworld.com, and that's where you can click right there and watch it for only $9.99. And it's really important to get this out there. First of all, it's a lovely movie. It's really well made, very well produced, very entertaining, very inspirational. So strongly recommend it. And then to learn more about the great work that Patrick's doing in the world, please go to his website, which is his name, patrickmccullum.org. And that's where you can learn all about the McCullum Foundation, the work that he's doing. And is there a place here where we can donate?
Yes. If you go to that website at the very top of the page, there's a place that says donate, right?
Oh, here it is, right here.
And you can touch that button and it allows you to choose what you want to put your donation towards. The Amazon project means anything having to do with all these indigenous lands, temples, things like that. You could also donate to the World Peace Violin, which is another whole project I don't think we have time to get into. Or you can just say you want to give it to the general work that I'm doing and whatever I need to use it for, I can use the money. And we're very careful about using the money for what our donation people want it for. And no one on our team, including me, get any money or paid for anything. I mean, we're all volunteers. I've been a volunteer since the beginning. And, you know, I pay for many of the trips and things that I do, myself.
Well, I am going to show people how to do it. I'm going to donate a little bit. And I'm choosing Recovering Sacred Stones and Artifacts.
Awesome.
And my computer knows me, so I should be able to get in just fine. So there we go. I really want to encourage everybody, please donate. Please support Patrick and the great work that he's doing. The violin story is a great, great story. Do you have time to tell it? I know you had to leave.
Yeah, I can tell it really quick. I want to say one thing about the donation thing that's really important. A lot of people, including me in the past, used to think I don't have enough money to really donate to things. And, I might be able to donate $2 or something, but why should I do that? Because it doesn't matter. I am a person who all the projects I do on a shoestring. So, for example, the project to see the Kogi, there was another group that tried to do the same thing, and they spent $500,000 making the journey to meet with the Kogi. I made that same trip for $2,100 and accomplished like 10 times more. So there are things that I do, like the Kogi people, when I give them money, many things that they need to, move forward in the society cost like 10 cents or 15 cents or 20 cents. And so very small donations matter. $1, $2 matter. Obviously, if you're gonna, donate $50 or something, that's huge. That can like take care of an entire village.
Well, that's really beautiful to know. So I chose 88 because 8 is the number of abundance. But everybody, whatever you can put in, it does make a big difference. And I love what you pointed out, that what to us seems like a small amount is actually a very large amount for the Kogi people. Tell us about the violin, and then we're going to go to cornflower.
So, separate from any of the rest of this, but after I had my near-death experience, so I do have some unusual spiritual experiences since then. I was lying in bed, one evening with my wife, and I was basically asleep, or pretty much asleep, and all of a sudden I heard a voice. And the voice wasn't in my head. It sounded like somebody was standing next to me. And the voice said, "Patrick, I want you to make a violin." And I opened my eyes and looked around, and there's nothing there. And then I heard the voice again. It was a woman's voice. And she said again, "Patrick, I want you to make a violin, and it's going to become the symbol of peace for the entire world." And I was thinking about it because I'm not a musician. I'm not an instrument maker. I wouldn't have a clue how to make a violin or anything about it. It's like an impossible task from my perspective. But I answered the voice and I said, "Okay, I'll go to the library, I'll get a book and I'll learn how to make a violin." And the voice said, "I don't want you to learn how to make a violin. Just follow my voice." So then I ended up stopping my very first war, which was in the Congo in Africa. And the people there were so thankful about my helping to stop this conflict that had been going on. They're very poor and they wanted to give me something, but they didn't have anything to give me. So they gave me a block of wood from this sacred tree that they make drums to talk to spirit with. And so I, go home and I have this big chunk of wood and I'm going like, what am I going to do with this? I wasn't thinking about the violin. Then the Native Americans in California had a site where the government decided they were going to bulldoze the Native American sacred site and build like porta potties and a bunch of stuff like that there. And the Native Americans had already lost their arguments with the state around it, but there was a hearing still going on, and they asked if I would come and speak on their behalf. And I came and spoke on their behalf, and it changed the state's mind. And the state ended up giving them back their sacred land. So I told them about this violin thing in my head, what had happened. And they said, "Come with us. We have a tree we call the Tree of Peace that 100 or so tribes have been going to for a couple hundred years. when we have conflicts, we meet at this tree and we make, treaties for peace. So I went to this tree and I'm going, okay, what am I supposed to do? And the grandfather who was there took me there, just said, come to the tree every once in a while when you get a chance, and the tree will show you what to do. So I came to the tree back and forth, here and there when I'd travel by that area for like a year or so. And then all of a sudden I come one day and lightning had struck the tree and a huge piece of it was down on the ground. So I got this idea that this tree of peace was related to conflict and the resolution of conflict, and the piece of wood I had from Africa was related to conflict and the resolution of conflict. If I use those two things to make the back and the front of the violin, I would be creating a violin that literally was made from things that were part of the peace process. And so I got a chainsaw, cut a piece of the tree, took it home, just did from learning to be a little kid. I got a big piece of paper, folded it in half, and I drew half of what I thought was the shape of a violin on it. And then I, opened it up and held it in the light on a window and drew the other half and opened it up. I stuck it on the two pieces of wood, cut out the shape of the violin, and I just started carving it. And the voice would speak to me every once in a while and tell me to carve a certain way or do a certain thing. When I got done carving the violin and it was all the way done, it ended up having fragments from wars and conflicts all over the world spanning about a 6,000 year period of time. And I'll just give you an example of a couple of them. The varnish I put on the violin was made from the remains of the vaporized people of Hiroshima when they dropped the atomic bomb, mixed with the ashes of the white buffalo from the white buffalo prophecy, and ground up sand from the baptism site of Jesus. So that's what I made the varnish from. And there are over 100 fragments of wars and conflicts from across history, including a piece of the brick that the Buddha stood on when he gave his first sermon, all inside the violin. But when I put the violin, it sounded like crap, which is what everybody said. Everybody was saying, it's the wrong wood. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to make a violin. You're crazy, whatever. And then I went to India and I'd done a bunch of work, peace work in India, and I was given the honor to bless the Ganges River for 100 million people to clean their karma. So and that's another long story, but I stood in the middle of the Ganges River in what's called the Sangam with 100 million people standing around me. And I blessed the Ganges River, but I also took the violin with me and I immersed it under the water of the Ganges River with 100 million people praying for peace. When the violin dried out, it got an amazing, like ghostly sound that was something out of this world. And then it started traveling around the world and people wanted to bless it and give it blessings of peace. And over X number of years, as we would keep track of the people, we went over 1 million people blessed it by hand with their blessings for peace. And famous musicians wanted to play it, and it played like at the Nobel Prize, awards. And I mean, it played all over everywhere in the whole world. And on the 75th anniversary of the International Day of Peace at the United Nations on the floor of the UN, the violin was officially recognized as a symbol of peace for the entire world.
Incredible. Drina Joy pulled up this picture, and there you are with your dear friend Jane Goodall, and there's the violin.
And this is the actual day that the violin we're at the UN, she and I right there getting ready to go out. And this is just 10 minutes before it was made the symbol of peace for the world.
Wow. Thank you, Drina Joy, for pulling that picture up. And thank you, Patrick McCullum, for your amazing life, the incredible life you're living, your trust to follow, to listen to the voices, to follow. You are such an inspiration for us. And I love you, my brother. I love you very much.
Well, let me finish by saying this. Every person listening here can change the world. Every one of you can be a peacemaker just like me. All that it takes is that you say to yourself, I'm a peacemaker. And each action you take each day, you recognize your action for that purpose. Like you say, I'm cooking my breakfast this morning so I can go out and help save the planet. I'm a peacemaker. Or you help an old lady across the street and you say, I'm helping her because I'm a peacemaker. We all have something special to contribute that no one else has. Every one of you has a gift that no one else in the entire all creation have. And what you need to do is find that gift and use it to contribute to the whole. And in that way, we can really save the entire planet. We all have, I'm nobody special. I'm just a regular guy like all of you. And we all have that power to change the future of everyone.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much. I look forward to next time I see you in person. And I look forward to future appearances on this show. Thank you so much, and give my best to Barbara.
Well, thank you, everyone.
And much love. Thank you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Wow. What a life, huh? And how blessed we are to know him and to have him as a regular guest on our show. And yes, Carol Craig, incredibly inspiring. And hopefully Patrick will have a chance to see all the beautiful comments that have come in. Well, with all of that, we are going to now bring on Cornflower. And originally Cornflower was going to do what Cornflower does, which is come in and be on the show and come from a studio, but his internet went out. So we are going to have a little chat with Cornflower. And then I've pulled up one of the older videos of when he was on Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. But you're on camera with us now, Cornflower. And of course, we also tonight are dedicating our fundraising to you. And so tell us a little bit about what's going on with you and with your mother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. It's an honor to be here, beaming to you all from my vehicle, 5 minutes away from my house. Yeah, I have been caregiving my mother, living with her in the home I was raised in for the last 4.5 years as her primary live-in caregiver as she's navigated 2 strokes. And on Mother's Day, a couple weeks ago, she had her 3rd stroke, and it caused a high level of diminished cognitive behavior, and she lost all control of the use of her left arm and left leg, and can't see out of her left eye, and is having trouble with seeing out of her right eye. She's just really struggling. She's now bedridden. And so all of the care kind of lands on my shoulders. We are very blessed to have her church community has been, bringing food every so often. And some of her friends that she's known since elementary school who are still with us have been coming to visit and sit with her and hold her hand and love on her. And my sisters come in to help give me a break, and she had to go back home, and then my brothers come in. So I feel really blessed. However, this whole thing has required me to let go of all work, let go of touring. I can't tour. I can't record music right now. It's a constant dance with my mom's needs. So Scott asked, if there's anything that could be done. And I'm like, I'm drowning in debt right now. And just am kind of that, even though that's like the least of my priority is my mom. I am concerned about my financial well-being right now. And so he said, well, let's see what we can do. and he threw together this GoFundMe and said, "Hey, let's have you on." So here I am. I was hoping to be singing for you all tonight, but our internet went down 3 days ago. It still has not come back online, and they just sent a text today saying it could possibly be Monday before we see any signal. But yeah, so that's the situation, and I just feel eternally grateful for you guys, for your continued love and support of me and my music, and your prayers for my mother. It really, I have noticed a difference in her cognitive diminishment. There's moments of much more clarity. We had a really beautiful day on Memorial Day. Her siblings came up, and she woke up and looked at me in the eyes and said, "Good morning, I'm so happy." And I was just blown away, because just days before that, I didn't know she would even be alive on that day. So definitely the love and prayers that have been pouring in are helping. And I feel like I've had to do like a crash course in being a CNA. So I'm having to change her and clean her and move her 3 to 4 times a day. And then just, I've got the video monitor on her all night. And so I'm low key, kind of one eye open, sleeping. But my brother just came in on Friday, and I just taught him how to do all those things. And so he's been tag teaming with me. But anyway, it's just like a full focus on my mom and honoring her wishes to pass away in her home. And so we're doing our best to keep her comfortable and safe and peaceful. And I think we're doing a pretty good job so far. So I'm very grateful.
Beautiful. So I see where some of the people are already donating right now. Scotty Satori just donated. So thank you. Jan Kaplan just donated. Karen Eisenberg just donated. So the donations
Thank
are
you all.
going to come in. So please do donate. And I will, the link is in the chat box. For those of you watching on Facebook, if you go to GoFundMe and just put in the search bar, Standing with Cornflower in his time of need. And really, in fact, probably all you got to do is put the words cornflower in. I don't think there's any other GoFundMe's connected to cornflower right now. So just put in cornflower and you'll find it. And to remember how much we love this man, and how much joy he's brought. I loved what Patrick said about how we all are contributing in our own way. You are saving the world, brother, one dance jam at a time. And so here's a fun blast from the past. We'll see if some of you maybe might even see yourselves on this. This is from, I think,
Before
5 years
Before
ago.
you hit play, just what you said just really triggered for me, because first off, I loved what Patrick was sharing about that. It has been a mission of mine since a very young age to serve and to be in service, and trying to find what that was. I always felt like music or art had something to do with it, and I've gone through so many permutations, but the one thing that's gotten really clear in my heart and soul, and I think it's definitely happened in 2012 when I lost my voice for a year and I had to take a total hiatus from singing, because my purpose at that point, I thought, was my singing, my music, that was my way of, assisting the transformation of human consciousness. And then I lost my voice and I couldn't sing. And so for a full year, I had to reckon with the challenge of, well, have I lost my purpose? Can I no longer serve my purpose? And what I gained from that time was how important connection is. Like when we connect with others and we show up in service, even if that's just being present, you don't even have to be necessarily taking an action. but just being present and showing up in your life to the best of your ability is you living the way. And it's so important for us to find what that, that piece of, a lot of people say with breath work, you got to do this breathing, and it's like but the natural breath is actually this powerful, important, restful state. And from that place is our natural peace making abilities. Our power comes from resting in who we truly are and being who we truly are. And when I realized that all I had to do was just be in service and connecting, that was it. And that music was a medium through which I could connect, but that wasn't the only way. And so it's just us being ourselves and being from our heart and choosing love, even in the hardest times. So I just wanted to piggyback off that and say it is an honor to get to make music in the, with the intention of the transformation of human consciousness, but ultimately it's how we live in each moment, the choices we make, and especially choosing love, that we do the greatest work. And each of you are already doing that. And I just want to acknowledge each of you. We're all standing together in this great circle, walking each other home. So I love you all so much. And I hope you shake a tail feather to this way back track of With All Things.
I want to read a comment that came in from Trina Joy. She writes, having gone through a similar amazing 10 plus years cancer healing journey with my own mother, I can so resonate with you, Cornflower, and Omashar and other GPT family that are going through. So she's sending her heart prayers, wishes, healing hugs, and energies to you and your mothers, all of our mothers here and beyond the veil, with deep gratitude and love. And Trina Joy, I think, sums up what we're all feeling. So thank you for that. And let's now get ready to move and groove to one of our favorite Cornflower dance jams. Here we go.
And I'm beaming in live from Northeast Tennessee. And the song I've got for you is With All Things. So here we go.
Yeah, I'll get my flashlight again. Oh, go ahead.
With all things I am one. 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 With all things and let your voice ring loud. When we're born into this world, we're born into a sacred spiral. The door is open wide. Open up and dive deep inside. With all things, come on. I am. Can you feel it? With all things, I am. With all things, I am. With all things, I
Look at some of our friends from the past that are there. Of course, beloved Kristen Hoffman and Casey. I just had lunch with Casey last week. She's visiting. Lloyd Bard, who we love so much. The Magician, Sean Jay, Dr. and Mrs. Future. We're going to do an entire show with them. And Jay Mayer in the corner there.
No.
In the upper right-hand corner, there's
Sweet man.
Jay Mayer. There you all see him. And of course, Deborah Giusti, who was my co-host back in those days. So what a beautiful What a beautiful memory. And there's Fanny Starchild, by the way. She came zooming in just in time to be part of this.
The dance party.
The dance party. Of course, Fanny would get here just in time for the dance party, of course. Oh gosh. Well, I want to thank those of you that have donated. Patricia just donated. Doug has donated. Those are the ones I've noticed coming in on my phone. And so and there's Vigari. We love you, Vigari. And we love you, Cornflower. Thank you for all the beautiful things you're doing. Thank you for taking such good care of your mother. And we'll and we're gonna have you on again. I think we've got you in June for the Unity Earth show. We've got
that's right. Fantastic.
So I'm gonna keep bringing this up for people and let them know about it. So
well, Scott, again, you're such a light, man. I'm so deeply inspired by you. When I grow up, I want to be like you. You are no, truly, man, you are something else. You really are fulfilling your role here, and you are showing up so big for so many people. And I'm getting a little choked up, man. I can't thank you enough for your fellowship and brotherhood over the years, and truly honored to have you in my life. And I know everyone on this, this show is eternally grateful for your presence in this world. And you bring big gifts, and we all are blessed to receive them. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. I take that in and I appreciate it. Ayada wrote something that I think sums up how we all feel about you, brother. She writes, "Dear Cornflower, you are so precious, so loving and inspiring. Thank you for all the beautiful vibes and music you have shared with us over the years." And that's absolutely, and as Scotty points out, hats off to the caregivers. So awesome. And yes, Carol, the video is filled with so many of our friends. So, I also wanted to remind people about Cornflower's main website, actually, because definitely we want you to support him through the GoFundMe. But, he also has this wonderful website where you can find all things Cornflower at cornflowermusic.com. And so another way you can support him is to go to Cornflower Music. And if you click donate up here, whoops, I clicked the wrong thing. If you go to, I see what happened. Okay. If you go to
join.
Yeah, thank you.
You're fine.
And that's where you can become one of his seeds, become a Cornflower seed. At the very least, definitely put in your name and make sure that you join so that you are on his email list. But you can become a Flower Seed Plus, get a monthly music subscription, and just click join now. And that's another way that you can support him on a regular basis. I've been a subscriber. Oh, well, I subscribed a long time ago. But anyway,
you keep resubscribing, Scott.
I think that's what it is.
Every time you do this, you go back in and subscribe again.
I think that's what happens. Yeah. All right. I love you so much, brother. Thank you so much.
And I love you all. Thank you again for everybody and your prayers. My mom appreciates it. My whole family, all of her friends. She's a matriarch in this community, and it's a big deal going on here in my hometown that she's coming to completion here, and every one of you offering your prayers and support. I can't thank you enough, and I hope I get to hug each of you individually before we all stop drawing breath here. It's such an honor to be in circle with you, even through the ethers. I feel so deeply interwoven and connected with each of you. You're truly family, and I love you all so much.
Thank you, brother. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Speaking of family, I'm going to share a couple of important Global Peace Tribe announcements. Our beloved Summer Joy, who is getting us out to lots of people through the Sign Network on all of our shows, she's going to do another special full moon dance program tomorrow. And so I want to encourage everybody to participate. And it's dedicated, it's on the anniversary that Thich Nhat Hanh and Dr. Martin Luther King met and had an extraordinary experience. And so it's honoring that that friendship that they had. And so she and Shine Heather Elizabeth, who's been on this show, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Cornflower time, that would be East Coast. And come and join us. It's, of course, on Zoom, and all the details are right here. I'm having a little bit of trouble putting things in the Zoom chat. So if I can't get this to work, I'm going to send it to Diara, who will then pass it on to all of you. But that's 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. And it's free. You can RSVP just by going into One World, or right here. Here's the RSVP. And hopefully all of you belong to oneworld.earth by now. Or the Zoom is right there. So, and then speaking of Unity Earth, that's going to be at 3 o'clock. And then 2 hours later, there's another program that's happening with some of our friends. Whoops, wrong thing. I want to go, I've got so many programs open right now. I want to go to that. The Union of Nations full blue spirit moon fire ceremony at 5 o'clock. And again, it's all part of the Sign Network, part of oneworld.earth. We all support each other. So tomorrow afternoon, and evening, this is what you want to be doing. So I hope that you can participate. And I'll do my very best to get that into the chat box. If not, I'll get it to DR, who will do so. I've got a weird thing going on with my computer right now. So I'm buying a new computer, hopefully tomorrow. All right. So it's an incredible time of ascension. And I want to acknowledge that almost everyone I know, myself included, is feeling extra tired, extra spacey, sometimes going through even, I'm fortunate I don't go through depression, but I have friends that are going through depression, including people that are not normally depressed, people going through anxiety that are not normally anxious. And you might recall that we had Elizabeth April on, where she talked about her new book, Your Anxiety is Giving Me Anxiety. But she went a little bit deeper recently, all about her understanding of the connection between the awakening we're going through, this awakening Earth that we're on, and how it can impact us in terms of some of our mental and emotional issues. And so I have the greatest respect for Elizabeth. Like, she's a very clear channel. So I thought this would be a good video to play for all of us. So here is our friend Elizabeth April providing some very important wisdom for us.
Restless and all of that. Okay, but
I want to go to the beginning.
health.
Hang on. Everybody turn your volume all the way up. Because for whatever reason, this particular video, the volume is a little bit low. I've got the video volume at full blast. I've got my system at full blast, and it still is a little bit low. So put in earphones or turn your volume all the way up. It's about 16 minutes long, and I will see you on the other side.
Hello again, and welcome back. Today we are talking all about mental health. And it's such a broad topic and such a broad spectrum of what is included within mental health. we're talking about things like, depression and anxiety and psychosis and just feeling uneasy and restless and all of that. Okay, but I'm not going to deep dive into all of the specifics. I do have other videos specifically targeting things like suicide and depression and anxiety and psychic attacks. So go to my website and go check out those videos. You can type in the search engine, they'll pop up. Today I want to talk about, just in general, spiritual awakening and mental health, because they go hand in hand. And how do I put this? A lot of my friends in the past, like a lot of really powerful spiritual people that I know, have gone through a psychosis, which was their opening to an awakening. And for the 3 people who are close friends of mine who have gone through that, it's really traumatizing. They went to the hospital, they went to a psych ward, really against their will, during these moments of psychosis, and they remember what happened, at that time, talking to things or drawing pictures and just really sort of losing all of your grip on reality. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay, because there is a very, very fine line between tapping in to everything in the universe and being so ungrounded that we are not fully aware of what's happening here while we're tapping in. And for me, I have had moments in this lifetime of fears of, am I going to lose my mind? Am I going to fall into that bucket? Am I going to tip the scales a little bit too much? And any time I've gone through that, it's usually when I'm especially ungrounded. Maybe I've been fasting a lot, or maybe I've been, sometimes it's just doing a lot of energy work or just being out of body quite often. That can prompt a feeling of, whoa, I don't feel rooted. I don't feel grounded. So going through psychosis is totally fine and totally normal within sort of the phases of awakening. I find that it can be quite damaging, though, because there's always this question of, I don't want to push my gifts too far, because if I do, I might once again lose my grip on reality. Now, beyond just psychosis, right, talking about depression or anxiety, especially anxiety is what I know more about than depression, but it can be really difficult because anxiety in so many ways, right, it creates this spiraling in our mind. And when we get into a place where we are connecting to energies, connecting to information, there is a lot of spiraling, there is a lot of content going on in our brains, and we don't have the capacity to anchor that into this reality and make it applicable. And I think that one of my gifts is translation. I think one of my gifts is being able to go into those realms, come back into this body, and maintain this ability to talk about aliens and carry on a conversation, a normal conversation. I've said this before in another video, or maybe a couple of videos, but there was this moment many years ago where I was, sorry, it's the morning, I was channeling all day, and, I probably had 10, well, maybe more 8 sessions that day. From sun up to sundown, I was in session. And some of them were past lives, and some of them were relationships, and some of them were financial stuff, and some of them were cosmic and mission-based, and it was all across the board. And it just gets wild, And then, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I go out to the movies. And I remember sitting at the back of this movie theater, eating my popcorn, watching the credits, thinking, wow, good for you. You have just explored the entire universe. You've gone to the 12th dimension and back, and now here you are, sitting in a box with a bunch of other humans, watching a screen, eating your popcorn. Like, it was just like this moment of like celebration that like, wow, holy fuck, like you can do it all, you know? That being said, I have had moments where I am just so beyond human and everything suffered. Financially, I suffered. All my relationships suffered. My family relationships, my romantic relationships, my friendships suffered because I was way too ungrounded and way too in the information and way too like up in my head and not in my body. So what I want to talk about here and what I want to recommend is that if you don't feel rooted within your mental foundations, then you should not be trying to push yourself to gain access to insights, information, connections beyond this physical realm. And what I mean by if you don't feel solid rooted, let's say even the word healthy, if you don't feel healthy within your own mental space, right? And I guess how I would define that is, how do I say this? Are you able to easily, okay, yeah. Are you able to easily switch perspectives, switch conversation? Think about for a moment, you're at a gym and you're in front of a weight rack, okay, just handheld weights. Are you able to pick up the 2-pound weight and then move over and pick up the 10-pound weight and move over and pick up maybe the 20-pound weight? That's pretty much as I can do as far as free weights are concerned. So it's kind of like mental gymnastics, but also mental elasticity or even neuroplasticity, right? And the fact that you're able to pick up different weights and do different movements is incredible. The fact that you're able to show up in an elevator and have a conversation about the weather, and then in the next moment show up and have a deep dive with your best friend, that's really important, okay? I've battled for a long time, and I still do, because I'm having a hard time really fitting into different pockets of society. But, for me, it's like, how can I be the best human I can be? And it's being able to play the game in a variety of different ways without losing yourself within the role. And when you can do that, you really, truly master your mental space. You master mental health. Because even when I am feeling triggered or down or even just a little bit sad or anxious, I can experience that moment because I know that I'm experiencing that energy or emotion for a reason. And then I'm able to step out of that moment and that experience and observe it objectively. I find that when I was at a place where I didn't want to talk to you if you weren't going to talk about chemtrails and the elites and reptilians and the Galactic Federation or whatever, once again, everything suffered, right? So and it's so isolating. Why can't we have it all? We were born at this time to really experience the duality between realities. And mental health, like your mental state, right, is that bridge. It's the bridge between one world and another. And so what I'm saying is the best place we can be is actually in between both of these worlds, not just one or the other. You will limit yourself if you just choose one state of being. As we all know, we've all tried the human thing, and we have been very restless and unsatisfied and unfulfilled within the human dynamics. And so here we are. But it's also not all about conspiracies and aliens and white light and opening your third eye either. Just make sure that mentally you're in a place where you're really, the best place we can be mentally is observing. If you find that you have the ability to check in with yourself and observe objectively throughout your day, and don't just take that for granted, like that is a very, very, very keen skill to have. If you can do that throughout your day, then you're in a great place to be able to tap in and do whatever you want. If you find that you're so in the human that you feel a little bit lost and restless, then create space to get out of the human and just tune in, right? Create that spot, a quiet moment to tune in, which is what I was talking about, I believe, last month as well in this video. Okay, good. So yeah, that's like more of the programmer. I talk about being the character, being the player of the character, and then being the programmer. And when we can observe ourselves playing the character, playing the role, then we're the player. When we can show up and set intentions and manifest what we want that character to experience, then we become the programmer, right? And I don't know about you, but I've gotten to a point where I actually really enjoy meeting a random stranger and like picking their brain a little bit, or pushing the boundaries a little bit. Like I feel so solid, maybe confidence not the right word, but let's say grounded, rooted in my mental space. I don't need to convince anyone. I don't need to push for anything. I don't need to always talk about one thing. I can really just show up and observe humanity. I can observe a person and learn so much from it. I can show up and talk about the weather and actually enjoy the conversation, right? And it was many, many years where I did not enjoy those conversations. I did not want to show up and just fucking shoot the shit. So that's really what I wanted to mention with mental health. You have to be at a place where you're very solid within your mental state, because that mental state is your bridge between worlds. And when I say solid in your mental state, it's the ability to switch frequencies easily and effortlessly. It's the ability to show up and play many different roles, but play them consciously, not subconsciously, not through autopilot. When we're at that place, we know that we have full capacity to navigate this world and other worlds. So anyway, hopefully this information came to you. I know I rambled a bit, but I didn't want to just focus on one aspect of mental health. I wanted to mention that I've gone through all of the different angles, or a lot of the different angles of mental health, and this is the place I've landed that feels the best. And I'll be honest, I do still have down days. And, recently in the past couple of days, I've been so triggery. The word that I use is sharp. I've been so sharp, and and it's tough because I'm I don't want to be this person. I don't want to feel this way, especially towards my wife, because she gets the brunt of it. I'll be how long has Bodhi watched TV for, or how much dairy have you given him? And I don't know, maybe it's a control thing or whatever, but it's oh my God, the kid isn't gonna die, so for me, it's take those moments, tune into them. Obviously, I'm recognizing that I don't want to be that way, and that he's gonna be okay no matter how much TV he watches or whatever. And to relax a little bit, but then to also objectively observe my state of being. What is it? Am I hungry? Am I tired? Am I overworked? Am I not feeling heard or seen in other areas of my life? Or, what is it, right? I don't know. Don't ask me. I really don't know why I've been kind of just sharp lately. Is it hormones? I don't know. So I find personally, even though I don't have an answer as to why I feel this way, by objectively observing and trying to pinpoint it, I'm opening up a dialogue and a conversation internally that helps me feel a lot better, because I'm I'm just listening to myself. And even that is important, right? So tuning in with yourself and then being your own best support is also really key. So hopefully that little tidbit helps as well. And yeah, it kind of helps me, but it's also good to feel these things. Like, life isn't meant to be roses and butterflies all day long. It would be boring. So learn from yourself, learn from others, objectively be aware, and try navigating things consciously and saying, okay, I can show up and play basic, I can order my pumpkin spice latte and enjoy it, right? Why not? That's what we're here to do. We're here to be human and not so human. All right, until next time, thank you guys. Love you so much. I'll see you in the highest possible timeline.
I saw in the chat box that many of you were relating to that. So, I'm curious, if anybody wants to share a little bit more. And if anybody wants to actually share on camera, just raise your hand, do the computer raise like this, and that way you go right to the front and I can see you. So if anybody wants to share what this came up for them, because I'm imagining, well, some of you said that, I'm imagining that a lot of us are going through moments. So I'll also take a look and see if there's new in the chat box. There was Carol Craig, I'm in my psychosis right now, but I'm cool. Well, there you go. That's to be honest. Susan says, good advice. People having high respect for Elizabeth. Yeah, she does risk it all. TR points out this is similar to what Patrick said about being peaceful while cooking breakfast and how real she is. Carol says she's been sharp lately also. Val says, I love her, been watching her for years. Susan Woolridge just came in, said her grandson is here with her, so she's just popping in and out. DR, I just have a feeling that you might have something to say about this.
Yes, I actually raised my hand and then put it down.
Right. I thought so.
Yeah. I've been maneuvering through this, and it's become more acute, more pronounced in the last few weeks and month. And literally what she said, like going to the post office and having a conversation about, oh, did you see the new stop sign on the corner? And then, coming into the awakening world and holding Patrick's internet stable and getting comments from others that they could feel the energy. So it's an example of the both and, how we are Hogwarts and Muggles. And I mean, I don't even like using those terms. To me, the way I just said that felt a little bit disrespectful. So I apologize for that. It's, a lot during prayer time, we talk about expanding our capacity to hold it all, to move through the magic. And Patrick's such a great example of that. He says he's ordinary, and I would say he's maybe an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And it was comforting to hear Elizabeth talk about the cognitive dissonance, moving from one reality quite literally into another, maybe not even leaving the room. So I'm really grateful for the video, and yeah, thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you. We are going to go to Omashar for his second of 3 songs tonight. Woo, look at that background. Holy Moses. We're not hearing you, brother.
When you feel like giving up, When you feel like letting go, living in this ever-changing world, when it seems that all is lost and you don't know where to turn, the future seems so very far away. So just know there really is a plan. The sun will always shine, and with your hand in mine, all heaviness fades away. The love in our hearts will melt the darkest day. Ba-da-dum-bum-ba, da-da-dum-dum-da, ba-da-dum-bum-ba-da-dum-bum-ba. So when it seems that you're alone and the fears knock at your door, remember I am just a breath away. You are my brightest star. You've just forgotten who you are. Remember there is nothing in the way. And just know there really is a plan. The sun will always shine, and with your hand in mine, all heaviness fades away. The love in our hearts will melt the darkest day. Ba-da-dum-dum-dum, da-da-dum-dum-dum, ba-da-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. So when you feel like giving up, and when you feel like letting go, remember I am just a breath away. And just know there really is a plan. The sun will always shine, and with your hand in mine, all heaviness fades away. The love in our hearts will melt the darkest day. The love in our hearts will melt the darkest day. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum, da-dum-dum-dum. The love in our hearts will melt the darkest day.
I love that song, and it's just such an important message. The love in our hearts will melt away.
It's melt the darkest day.
The darkest days.
Yes, indeed. It's a trip, and it's funny. I was tuning into what was going to happen tonight, and I was kind of wondering why these songs came up. But now I know what we've been talking about, and psychosis and all that. I had a bout of that, and I tell you what, you're never alone with schizophrenia. So there it is. So.
I'll be honest, this show is kind of interesting. Originally, I was going to go to Contact in the Desert this week. And so I was going to do a show live from Contact in the Desert. You guys know how I do that. I kind of show up, at a festival or a conference, and I pull something together. But for several reasons, I decided not to go this year, which was a big let go because I really wanted to go. But I had clients really needing me this week, and I've got a big road trip starting a week from tomorrow. So I decided to stay home. So I didn't know 3 days ago what we were going to do tonight. I had no idea. I knew cornflower. I had committed to cornflower. And of course, our Skin Count on Rome was sharp. And then I thought, Patrick McCullum, we've been wanting to have Patrick on the show. And so I reached out to Patrick, and he said yes. And then I think the next day, I saw Elizabeth April Extra's shorter reel, and I realized, what if Elizabeth, we love Elizabeth. And so when I kind of went through her videos, I found the one today on mental health and thought that would be the best one to play.
It
And
was
then
really important, and I loved what she had to say. And Patrick, he spoke for a long time. Holy smoke, he has a lot of information, but it was so poignant, and he is such a positive trooper. And it's funny that you were going to the contact in the desert because I was invited to go to Egypt, a paid trip to Egypt, and to go to the Hollow Movement. That wasn't a paid, but I could have gone on a volunteer. But for some reason, I was just at this overwhelm. It said, "Stay still, be present," as Cornflower was saying, and we shall actually meet up in Santa Fe in a couple of weeks.
yeah,
So that'll
yeah,
be really
yeah.
nice. And there's one thing out of all that. So that must be what is most important for us in this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll be doing on the Wednesday night from Santa Fe. We'll be doing a show
And
from
then a live show from
yeah,
Santa Fe. That'll be so cool.
yeah. So, we're very spontaneous. And of course, on Wednesday night, most of you were there. We had a Authors That We Love show. And I just let everybody go a little bit longer because I realized, hey, you know what? I can play the Celine video tonight. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to meet a really fascinating woman. She is an author that we love, or I think you'll all love her after you watch this video. So here we go with
So she's from Spain, right?
yeah, Celine DaCosta. I pre-recorded this a few weeks ago. She's pretty big league. She's got quite a big press team behind her and such. But we pre-recorded my morning, her evening, and she was in Spain when we recorded this. So I think you'll all like her. She's cool. For our next author, we are going all the way to Spain, where we are meeting Celine DaCosta. And I am really excited about her book. It's a perfect book, really, for so many of you in the audience. It's called The Burning Ground. It's a story that's her own personal story. But one of the things that I'm excited about is that there are soul inquiries after every chapter. And so we're going to learn more about it. So here she is. Welcome to the Global Peace Tribe and to Authors That We Love, Celine.
Thank you, Scott. I'm so glad to be here and to dive in.
Let's go right into, of course, you really integrate your own personal story. Can you give us a little bit of that story?
Yeah, of course. So the one from the book, you mean, right? Where the
Yes.
book starts off?
Yeah.
Yes. So the book kicks us off at about 10 years ago, 2016. And back then, I was a few years into corporate America. I had, when I was 10, I immigrated to the United States from Italy. And just got sold real hard, real soon on this whole concept of the American dream and it being something that I absolutely needed to achieve as fast and quickly as possible as an immigrant child in America. And I did all the things. I checked off all the boxes, straight A student, went to an Ivy League university. When I left that university, what naturally came next is I need to go to New York City and I need to work in corporate and I need to have a successful job in a successful company in this place. And I ticked off all the boxes. I did everything that I was told that I was supposed to do. And there was this inquietude within me that I couldn't quite mute. And it just kept getting louder and louder every year as I diligently followed instructions, woke up every morning at 6 a.m., went to the gym, worked 10 to 12 hours a day, went to go get drinks with friends or dates or whatever it is that was going on that night that was popular, went to bed at midnight if I was lucky, woke up, did it all again. And in the monotony of this life, something inside of me began to stir. And that feeling of just, I would say, restlessness, the feeling of something is not right. Something is not only not right, but it started to escalate into something is terribly off. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I didn't have the words for it. And I certainly, back then, I wasn't, did not have the frameworks or the mental models or the teachings, or didn't do the work that I've done now, where I'm able to look backwards and really give words to my experience. But it was this like soul restlessness that was telling me, I need to go. Something needs to change because if I keep going this way, it's going to be really bad for me. And through a series of very unexpected, unconventional events, as you know, God, source, universe loves to do. When it's time to change, we are given many, many opportunities. Some of them very harsh and challenging to change, which I detail in the book. Basically, I hit a breaking point where I said, "Okay, I need to change. I'm done. Let's show me." But I didn't know how. I didn't know what. It wasn't like, "Okay, I'm gonna move to across the country," or like, "Okay, I'm gonna just change my job." I just knew, like, no, my entire life needs to change. And through another series of events, which I detail in the book, I came to realize that the only way I was actually going to create the kind of change that would have me remember who I was, that would have me feeling something deeper in my life that wasn't just misery and or numbness, I had to drastically shake things up so much that I wouldn't be able to recognize myself. And that's what I did. That's what I did. So, and ultimately, then the whole premise of the book, or not the premise, but the whole plot of the book is I decided to go do a social experiment. That's what I told myself back then. I didn't know it was going to be an odyssey of my soul. And I challenged myself to circumnavigate the globe by couch surfing, never using a website. Yeah. Just human connection. Mm-hmm.
Well, and how long ago was this? How many years ago?
It's 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And how long did the couch surfing adventure last?
Well, officially, which is what the book writes about, it was 9 months. Unofficially, it was around 5 years.
Wow. And during this time, what was going on for you spiritually? Like, tell us about your spiritual evolution during this process.
Yeah. So I share about this in actually it's not even in the book, because the book didn't know that in the book, but I share it either in my epilogue or prologue. I did not know back then that I was going through spiritual awakening, but that's what was happening. But I didn't know. Dark night of the soul meant nothing to me. Spiritual awakening meant nothing to me. Most of the spiritual jargon that floats around in New Age spiritual, like nothing. I didn't know what chakras were, did not know what breath work was, like didn't know any of it.
Wow.
And so I was in this place of just, I don't know what's going on. And I'm sure we've all had them before, all of us out there who's walking a spiritual path, that there was a first time where you were walking it and nobody told you. The best way I can compare it is the first time a girl gets her menstruation and nobody told her that she was going to bleed. Like, you're like, am I dying? Like, what's going on? It's
right.
If nobody prepared you, it can be incredibly jarring. And so spiritually back then, I had a gnosis, which was, I can tell you now that it was my intuition. I didn't know what intuition was back then. I had a gnosis, this deep voice inside of me that kept saying, do this, do that, do it like this, do it like that. And I thought I was going crazy because this voice was talking to me, but I'm like, am I possessed? Like, I'm not sure what's going on. But every time I listen to this voice, something incredibly magical happens. So it's a good voice for me to listen to, but like, what is this? And so I was spiritually hungry. I wanted it. And as you'll read in the book, that was mirrored back to me because life kept presenting me with these opportunities for me to understand what spirit even was and how to understand myself better on a spiritual level. But it literally knocked at it came to me. But I could say I was also a seeker. I just didn't know what I was seeking, but I knew it is what I wanted it. I wanted connection to God. I wanted to understand people better. I wanted to understand who I am on a soul level. I wanted all of it. I just didn't have any of the language. And so it found me.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Growing up in Italy, I assume you were raised Catholic?
Yeah, Roman Catholic.
And was your family strong Catholics or kind of moderate, or it wasn't that?
I would say, well, compared to friends who I would say, whoa, that's strong, I would then say it's moderate.
Right. So I asked that because, of course, many of our audience members are what we call recovering Catholics. As you were going through this, did you have to go through any kind of shame from your family, or even, Catholicism can leave a big guilt about anything that, so is there any concern that about demons being possessed? Did you have to struggle with any of that?
I love that you're sharing this, because then it's like most definitely moderate and not heavy. Now that you're sharing this, I'm like, nope, I came from a moderate Catholic, like as in Sunday, every Sunday church, and there's the shaming of like, if you don't do this, Jesus, if you don't placate Jesus, you're going to go to hell. There's definitely a fair share of that. Not explicit, but more implicit, more like, oh, we don't do that here, But I would say when I left the church when I was 14 years old. Like I said, Mom, I'm not doing this when I was 14. And so let's say we had about a 10-year buffer of my family accepting that that was not the belief system that I was subscribed to when it came to my faith was not that. So it was less about, you can't do that because, you're going to go to hell, or whatever variation of that is. And it was more about, I'm incredibly concerned about you. Yeah. Natural, healthy, right? Like for parents, and both of my parents had very different reactions. My father has been traveling the world since he was 25, like, backpacking through India style. So he was like, oh God, here we go. I've created another one. And my mom, she was very concerned, as a mother would be, that I'm gonna couch surf around the world, sleeping in the homes of complete fucking strangers as like a young, healthy, beautiful woman. Like, what are you thinking? That is incredibly dangerous. And so there was I would say that fear, whatever thing that was related to religion, was completely overshadowed by the absolute terror that some of my family members were in the risk they thought I was taking with my life in this project.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. So I was really intrigued by that. After every chapter, you have like a soul lesson. A soul inquiry is what you call it. Would you be willing to give us an example of one of the soul inquiries that we would find in the book and how it relates to that particular chapter?
Yeah, we can absolutely. Let's just play a game and just pull one up at random and see what the universe wants for us. Okay, so 86.
Okay.
86.
You are channeling spirit, and you're going to find the perfect thing that someone in our audience is go, oh, that's what I needed to hear today.
Like a tarot. This is actually, so can I tell you, Scott, real quick? I printed out all of the soul inquiry prompts. I think there's like 25 total. And I printed them out on index cards, like really pretty index cards. And I took them to Summit at Sea, which is basically like Burning Man kind of vibes. There's 2,000 people on a boat. And I would meet people randomly. And I would reach into my bag and pick out a prompt. And they would like pick out a prompt. And I was shocked, number one, that question related. They were like, oh my God, I'm dealing with something like this right now in my life, but that they would be able to answer it in like less than 2 minutes. So it wasn't, of course you can go really deep with these prompts, but I was just shocked because I was like, oh shit, now if I offer people these cards, it's going to lock me into like a 1-hour conversation with them. Yeah. But actually in less than 10 minutes, we would get real deep and they would just open up immediately with one of these prompts. So I'm like, oh my God, I need to turn this into
absolutely a card deck. Yeah.
A card game.
Are you looking at a list of 1 through 25?
Yeah, I'm at 86, and I'm gonna look at I'm gonna randomly pick the first one that jumps out at me. So it's number 2 of part 2. And the question is, have you ever had to suppress your truth or instincts to keep the peace in a family dynamic? What did that cost you at the time, and what do you need to reclaim now?
So I'm going to actually pause this for a moment and allow our audience to answer that question. So could you read it one more time slowly?
Have you ever had to suppress your truth or your instincts to keep the peace in a family dynamic. What did that cost you at the time? And what do you need to reclaim now?
So, like I told her, when she said that, I said, now I know some of our audience members are going to relate to that. And I hope you don't mind, but I immediately thought of Omar Shah and Diara. You don't have to comment if you don't want to, but if you'd be willing to, that'd be great. And then I'll check the chat box to see if anybody else wants to comment. But did that ring a bell for you, Omar Shah?
No, not really. I let Diara speak first, and I'll process it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was waiting for you to go first. Okay, so again, it was, could you repeat the question, please?
Have you ever stuffed yourself? This is not her exact words, but stuffed your truth, not being in your own integrity in order to keep the peace in your family? And if so, what was the price that you paid for that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when I didn't speak my truth, if I was getting a message or had an insight, if something regarding my intuition would come and I would squash that, not only did it, dim my light and hurt my soul, but sometimes I found that if I had said something, it could have changed the course of events or the outcome. And then of course, getting braver and doing that, I would say, well, what I'm getting is, and then of course that became the joke. Well, what I'm getting is, so yeah, hiding the truth of what I thought or felt or was getting in the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, I get that too. And I just read what Eleanor Joy just put in there. It's just disappeared. For me, constantly, my joyful self got fully stuffed into a deep, dark box. And yes, intuition was not allowed. And I don't think that I really have ever, I think I've stuffed my, I haven't even gone there. I haven't even stuffed it because I didn't feel that there was any chance of me speaking my truth to my family without them either thinking that I was bananas or just changing the subject immediately. And it was kind of interesting because today I had a little flag come up to saying that I had a program running about not being heard, which was started very young in my life. And so anyway, I stuffed myself by not even thinking that I should be able to share with my family. I was brought up amongst a bunch of, very atheist, very normal day-to-day bread and butter people, and my aspirations did not fit. So I had to find the awakening world, brother.
Oh, well, the awakening world is very, very blessed to have found you. I'm going to read a couple comments that have come in from our wonderful audience. Dorina Joy, a little after break, her closed captioning changed couch surfing into cow surfing. And I remember, Dorina Joy, you sent us a beautiful picture of a cow. One of our shows, you pictured cows from Ecuador. So there we go.
Yeah, it was when Khadijah was on.
When Khadijah was on, that's right. That's right. Right. Thank you for helping me to remember. Eleanor Joy writes, yes, for me, constantly. I think you had already said this one. My joyful self got fully stuffed into a deep, dark box. And yes, intuition was not allowed. And yes, we're going to have our interfaith show in early August. Carol Craig, I love you. You rock. She says, where is it? Where'd it go? Where did Carol Craig go one? I saw it earlier when I was scrolling up. It was wonderful.
She said, hell no.
Yeah, that one. Do you have it?
I do.
Yeah. Hell no. I've always said whatever was on my mind. My mom hated how boisterous I was. Beautiful.
There's a beautiful one from IATA that just being popped in as well.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is I'm gonna channel Ayata. In my childhood, I had to repress my deeper knowing about things. Talking about it only led to ridicule or shaming or even punishment. It's been a long journey for me to feel safe in acknowledging what I sense and know, and almost a lifetime of recovering from that deep set fear of being my authentic self. And yes, as Omar Shah said, this group, the Awakening World, has been a healing experience for me. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayata. And thank you, Omisho. You did a great job of channeling her. Bonnie Russell writes, I've had conflicts within my family over political divide, not being able to express my views. Often it would cause my exclusion from family gatherings. Oh, that's so painful. What I had to do is just express it neutrally, that there are no sides on a round planet. Oh, that's a beautiful, I like that. There's no sides on a round planet and issues on both sides of the spectrum. Very well done. Thank you, Bonnie. Eleanor Joy writes, going to Ireland almost accidentally allowed me the gift of finding myself. It was an awesome 6-year experience. Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for the comments. I figured you guys would all tune in. And let's go watch the end of my interview with Celine. And everybody, DR is going to put into the chat box that question, and we're going to pause the recording and give you 2 minutes to answer it. So I've read some of the chats and what came up. That was great. And now, of course, we're going to continue on with Celine in Spain. So tell us a little bit about who you think this book is ideally targeted for. What would you say is your demographic audience?
Let's see. I have thought about this so many times, so many moments where I was writing this book and asking myself who is on the other side reading these pages, especially in the moments when I thought I should just quit and give it up. And I would say, although my audience is going to be both men and women, since you're asking, my specific ideal audience is the woman who has spent up to this point her entire life doing what she thought she needed to do, checking off all of the boxes, working really hard to make the mission come true, the high achiever, in many ways, a younger version of me, as well as the people that are in alignment with my ideal clients, which is the working hard, the over efforting, the overdoing, and finding this place where, this woman, even though I wrote the book from the point of view of not knowing what a spiritually awakening was, this book is for the woman who knows. She knows she's doing it again. She knows she's at that crossroad where she's in a big life transition, whether that looks like a big change in the relationship that she's in the work that she's doing, in the offering that she has for the world, in her health. It's a big crossroads where she knows that she can no longer do things the way that she used to do them, but she has to make a change. And this time she's ready to make that change with her eyes wide open. Instead of going about it the way that so many of us do before we wake up to this realization that we don't have to be thrown around in the machine cycle of life and then, barely crawl out on the other side of the hole and be like, shit, that sucked. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. And then, live life until we hit it again, because that's what life does. It will bring challenges. It's more for the woman who's ready to actually ride, and perfect for 2026, actually wants to ride the fire horse, wants to learn how to ride the fire horse. And it's like, okay, no more. I'm not getting thrown around by the whims of life and by the whims of whatever it's throwing at me. I'm fucking getting on that horse, and I'm the one that's going through the fire consciously. I'm putting my hand up and I'm walking myself through the burning ground. I'm the one who's going to let down my identities, who's going to change my belief systems, who's going to reckon with the emotions I haven't reckoned in. I'm in, tap me in, I'm going, and I'm reinventing myself. Because from that place, we stop being at effect of what our soul wants us to learn. We stop being thrown around by the lessons that life wants us to learn, and we start becoming at cause, because even though life doesn't necessarily get easier, I do believe it can get more graceful. And I do believe that when we start to relate to our life and what our soul has designed, the wonderful curriculum that our soul has designed from us, from like okay, what am I invited into now? Okay, who do I get to become now? Okay, what's next? And we change our attitude to it, then we start to become warriors and really be able to, I think of it as like the graceful warrior who can actually go through the tunnel of change with a smile on your face, or at the very least with like neutrality, divine neutrality, that you are being forged by what's happening. So I wrote the book for that woman. I wrote it as first a very entertaining story where you can see how I did it, like really fucking messy. And my intention with that was like, look, if I can do it like this, if I can do it as like 25-year-old kid who didn't freaking know what was going on or what trauma healing even was, like if I can do it like this, then anyone can do it. And not only that, here is a map. Here's a map, and that's what the book does. Like in every part, there's the soul inquiry prompts after every part of what I see to be part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 of what it actually takes to change yourself and evolve your story.
Beautiful. That's really, really beautiful. Thank you. You know, a lot of the women in our audience, because I've gotten to know them, their dedication was to their family. And they, you know, it was all about for my kids, for my husband, for my kids, for my husband. And then they find themselves, you know, in their 40s or 50s, and the kids are out, they're doing their own life. Oftentimes the marriage is over, and it's like, who am I? So it sounds like your book would be a really good book for people that kind of fall into that category.
Yeah, to remember who you are and ask yourself the kinds of questions that call your soul back in. And that's what the soul inquiry prompts are. They're really thought out, intentional, deeply, they're keys. They're keys to a vault. And that vault is within you.
All right. So as you went on this journey, Celine, what's the most significant thing you learned about yourself?
That I'm the author. It's my story.
Mm-hmm.
And what I am creating and what I'm witnessing is it's a mirror reflection of what I believe in, of how I feel, and of what I say, think, and do. And so I started to see that none of it was happening to me, that it was all happening for me. And if I am the creator of my reality, if I am indeed the one who authors what I have, then it's less about looking at my life and scoffing at all the things that I don't have. And it's more about understanding why I've unconsciously created that for myself, because in that is my work, and it's my lessons, and it's my curriculum.
Right.
And so if I can look at every single thing that is unpleasant, that is a challenge, that is, you know, difficult, as my invitation for me to evolve and grow, then who can't I be?
Mm-hmm.
Like I can do anything. And to take responsibility for that, it's a very uncomfortable but massive shortcut for me to achieve what I want to create, you know, whatever it is I want to create to my life. We waste a lot of time blaming other people, other things, other situations, other circumstances, and being mad about that. It's very energetically draining to live like that, as opposed to just being like, whoops, that doesn't look like what I want to be consciously creating in my life. Where's the mismatch? Let's go into the underworld and figure this shit out, because I'm not available for this. So consciously. So I will also make myself not available for it unconsciously. And that's where the, you know, deep inner work begins.
Last question for you. Interesting that it's called The Burning Ground, and you just talked about deep into the underground, into the underworld. Is there a correlation there between your experience or perception of the underworld and the title of your book?
Yes. So zooming out, my book is part of a larger ecosystem, which is, the framework that I have created called the Story Atlas, where I guide leaders through, let's just say, a map of consciousness of what it actually, when we want to change, not just change ourselves, but actually change the story that we're leading from. There's a very predictable framework that we walk through, which the Burning Ground models, which is the short version is phase 1 is we need to become aware of the story that we're telling ourselves and choose to let it go. Phase 2 is we need to actually reckon with our unresolved emotions, the old identity patterns, behavioral patterns, the belief systems that we were endorsing before we decided that we were no longer available for that because it's not in alignment with where we're going in our future. So that reckoning is what I would call like the burning ground, and it's a trespassing into the underworld to let everything burn away. Actually, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, but your Christian friends would love this. It's kind of like hell, but I don't like to call it that because I don't think yes, you are facing your demons, but why are you're going to come out, you're going to pop out on the other side, which is phase 3, which is what I call, it's the void. It's that fertile ground. It's the womb of the mother, like that fertile ground where everything is still and everything is quiet and you can actually listen to your voice again. And that in phase 3 is where people can hear and remember what their gifts are, what it is that they're here to create in the world. This is where, for example, when I'm working with clients, we're working on their book message, we're working on creating a brand, we're working on what it is that they want to offer in this next level of their leadership, which then brings us to phase 4, which is where you contribute and you give the bounty to the village. Like you actually create something, like this book I've created where you can actually like give it, put it in the hands of people and they can benefit from your gifts and your lived experience. And then you get to the point where you're growing and you're giving and you're like, okay, I'm complete with that. And then you start all over again because now your identity is too tight. And what I'm suggesting with this title and with this, this piece around the underworld is a lot of people just want to get to phase 3 and phase 4 because it's shiny and it's a lot of love and light and it's a lot of like helping people, but then they're like unwilling to go back into the cycle again and just go under and reinvent themselves again, let themselves go all over again. And what I'm suggesting is if you become an expert at transpressing the burning ground, then your evolution is not only inevitable, but it's like, bring it on. Here's my next evolution. Here's my next evolution. You're not creating drag and resistance to bringing in new reinventions of yourself, which is why we're here. I think we're here to live many, many lives. And the more we open ourselves to soul and allow actually surrender to soul, I think we're going to be brought into an existence that is far beyond what the mind can even reach in this lifetime. We can have many lifetimes in one. So why not?
Beautifully stated. You're first of all, you're a wonderful wordsmith, very eloquent. I love your passion, and I think our audience is going to love your book. So here it is. We're going to take a look at 2 websites. We'll start with where you can get the book, theburningground.com, and scroll down a little bit here. And I'm going to go ahead and order it myself right now. So I'm going to show you how easy it is. I'm going to order from Amazon because they delivered to me the next day. And pre-order, add to cart, and check out. And there it is. Place your order. And there it is.
Oh my God, that was so satisfying to watch.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, and grab your little order number and then you can just plug it back in. And this is great for your audience.
Make sure you follow Celine before you go there. Make sure you're staying. Okay, now you're going to tell me, grab the order number.
Okay, you can review you basically grab your order number, which would be in the review or edit your recent orders. And this takes about 60 seconds, but for your listener, when you put in your order number, you go back into theburningground.com, you put in your order number with your name and email. I also send you $200 of bonuses free right into your inbox, which includes a guided meditation that I take my executive leaders through to support you with building up the neural pathways to actually remember the voice of soul again. Because a lot of people say, but Celine, how do I hear that voice? And it's like, let me show you how. It's in my meditation. And then there's also a reader's companion guide and an ebook of quotes from the book. So you get a lot of bonuses in addition to purchasing the book, which is really fun.
Fantastic.
I wanted to make it a 10x return for anyone who made that decision to support me.
Well, I'm going to do that for sure. And there's still a little bit more. I also want to invite people to go to her website. And it's her name, Celine DaCosta, 2 N's in Celine, and it's D-A, not D-E, CelineDaCosta.com. And look at this. If you put in your email address, as I'm doing right now, and register, you're going to receive a free masterclass on the art of articulation. And boy, she sure demonstrated beautiful articulation just now, didn't she? So I'm going to look forward to listening to her. There she is.
There
So,
I am.
so there's some wonderful, wonderful gifts waiting for us. And Celine, what a joy to meet you. And thank you so much for your passion and giving birth. You've given birth to a beautiful baby. And May 27th, I believe, is when our show's airing. So by that time, your pre-orders will have ended on May 26th, I believe it is. So that's when it all happens. So we're kind of hopefully one of your many, 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 many midwives helping give birth to this beautiful baby called the Burning Ground.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Namaste. Now must go. Isn't she a delight? And I think it's a book that many of you will really appreciate. So I hope that some of you will choose to purchase it. And it's true, I did receive all these wonderful emails. In fact, I've been getting like an email a day from her she really follows up with meditations and support. And it's a whole program. It's a whole program. If I take a look at what's happening in the chat box, I wasn't able to look during the program because of my weird computer. Celine DR says loves her maturity and old soul. Absolutely. Thank you, Dorina Joy, for putting into the chat box where we can get her on Amazon. Carol Craig writes, I love Celine's style, great delivery. Absolutely. Eleanor Joy's younger sister, similar to Celine. That's very cool. Oh, great. Thank you so much for putting the links in. I really appreciate that, Dorina. Beautiful. I'm just enjoying seeing all of your comments that came in during this. Beautiful. Karen S. writes, I just don't discuss my spiritual beliefs with my family. Although I found out in the early 90s that one of my uncles attended a Unity church. That really shocked me. But I came to realize in recent years that my mother probably knew about Unity as well, but never said anything about that to me. I really wish she had. Yeah. I'm glad you found it on your own. Yeah, Unity churches are great. Beautiful. Yeah, he didn't die for our sins, Carol. He was a way shower. Absolutely. I have given many sermons at Unity churches and CSL, Center for Spiritual Living churches, which DR just wrote about. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. You guys got into a whole conversation about Unity churches and unities. That's beautiful. Awesome. Well, of course, all of our people are Unity church type people. And the kind of music we listen to at our Church of the Awakening World is music from Omashar. Take it away, brother.
The one I am has always been here, whispering songs of life and love. Come with knowing our day draws nearer. Come with joy and endless love. Sacred dancing breathes our heart song. Silent yearning keeps alive. A union blessed before beginning, and preordained beyond all time. Each step I take is one step closer to you. A joyous stride into the new. Each breath I breathe takes me inside your heart. Now I remember how to feel, and I remember how to fly. The one I am, fly. I am that I am, open to our sacred merger, shedding tears of divine bliss. Every movement tells a story, and nothing could compare with this. So here in fullest understanding, and breathing light through every word, our lives become so undemanding, and finally seem finally heard. Each step I take is one step closer to you. A joyous stride into the new. Each breath I breathe takes me inside your heart. Now I remember how to feel, and I remember how to fly. The one I am, fly. I am that I am, the one I am. I am that I am, the one I am. I am that I am.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. I know not everybody's here right now, but let's send love. And thank you, Eleanor Joy, for moving and grooving and dancing and carrying the dancing for us. And thank you, Omashar, so much. And I apologize. I almost forgot about prayer time. That's what happens. I've been up since 5:30 this morning without a nap. So that's
well, we actually psychically meant it to be that we ended with a nice prayer time with Giara.
Absolutely. That's a perfect way to end it. So here she is.
Yes, and first on our list is you, Scott. So we're going to beam lots of love and light and energy to you, and ask for extra angels tonight while you're sleeping. May all your coffers be filled. May everything that you give come back to you multifold, beyond measure. And we send this from our hearts, our minds, our bodies. All this love that you beam out, we beam back to you.
Oh, thank you.
And it's going to keep on coming.
I'll take it. I receive.
And then I have a beautiful list. I have a request from Doug May to pray for Jackie, and want to acknowledge Doug. He popped in while Patrick was talking about the Kogi. And if you remember, we had a whole show on the Kogi with Mary Hitchens and Doug May, and some of us did some work with the Kogi. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And prayers for Patrick and his knees and his mission. Scotty asked for that. And we thank Patrick for his humility and his power and grace and his fortitude. And of course, physical healing for all of us, for Scotty, for Eleanor. Sylvia, I see you hugging trees. Prayers for Cornflower's mom and Omishar's mom, for Cornflower and all the caregivers, all those receiving care, all those giving care. And then prayers for Ayada, for your tender heart once again, and for your beautiful family, your family that's going through transition, both coming and going in these beautiful planes of existence, and all you do and all you hold. And you are such a beautiful example of a woman that walks her talks, gathers the herbs, and creates these beautiful elixirs that you share with us in the chat. And then putting in prayers for a friend of mine, Rick Nagel. May he have a blessed journey in his recovery. Prayers again for Abigail and Steve and all those in the interfaith communities globally. And then also we have had a birthday. Bonnie Russell just had a birthday. And I don't know, Scott, if you have it in you to bring Bonnie up. I think she's still here to do the.
There she is. Oh, Bonnie, well, on the Awakening World, I always want to hear, what's your vision for this new year?
Ready to cry less and laugh more. I'm ready to move forward with my life, whatever it takes. So that's my goal, is just let go of a lot of grief and explore what life has to offer going forward.
We hold that vision for you, Bonnie. And we know that Roger, the spirit of Roger, is always with us, probably right now, and he lives forever in our hearts. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, dear friend.
Happy birthday, Bonnie. We love you.
I love you all.
And then finally, Dorena Joy puts in, let's extend our prayers to all those innocent souls and sentient beings in the war zones too. And let's just spread that out everywhere, because everyone is touched in some way by all this change that's occurring. It's a maximum grace for us all.
Thank you, Tiara, for keeping track of all those people and all those beings. And thank you for, I know she keeps a little notepad with all the things to do. So thank you for that. On Wednesday night, we're going to have Antoinette back with us, and she's going to be telling us all about the Mother Spirit Project. So that's going to be on Wednesday night. Next Saturday night, among our guests, Ashok is going to be back doing some kirtan for us. So I will look forward to seeing all of you. Have a beautiful Sunday tomorrow. Make it a sacred Sunday by choosing to see the divine in all. And I'm sending you